An entrepreneur since age 11, founded a bottled water coffee brewer, investor in Duper, co-founded The Hub, 3 separate pickleball facilities in the state of California, with one of them being the largest indoor facility in the state, and now Pickleball Superstore. You know Steve on like a personal level, but also in a professional setting as well. What do you think pickleball misses out on without Steve Kuhn?
So I started, Cafeo when I was 23, right out of school. I invented a bottled water coffee maker, allowing the community. So when we say community owned, community focused, we truly mean it. We're allowing the community to own it. So again, he started Beauty Counter. In 9 years, they sold it for $1 billion.
Will you, Steve, and Ted ever license Gig Affiliate?
We solved that problem for the Pro Shop. So we're the largest club in San Diego, and we just do it in California. And the thing about California, we own the largest indoor facility in the country right now, and I'm sure that'll change next week, the way pickleball's going. But
so what happens when a proprietary technology that sold for $1 billion in the beauty industry comes into pickleball? What does it take to build 3 of the largest facilities in California? This is a story of Pat Rolfes. This is Building Pickleball. Welcome to another episode of Building Pickleball. My guest today is Pat Rolfes. He is the founder of Cafeo, the co-founder of The Hub, Pickleball Superstore, Newport Beach Pickleball Events, and is a part owner in MLP and Duper. Thanks again to all the subscribers and my sponsor, Viore. Welcome, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. I have a bad habit of doing double takes on podcasts, apparently, because did 2 with Raphael from Gearbox, and then we had filmed our first one. When was that? April? It
was quite a while ago, but some of that was on me, though, Brian. Don't get too hard on yourself.
No worries. I'm glad that you were willing to make the trip, though. I appreciate that immensely. At this point, I pretty much want all these to be in person. They usually flow a little bit better. But yeah, just kind of tell everyone what you're in town for.
Yeah, for sure. So as you mentioned, I own a very small part of MLP and Duper. Thanks to Steve Kuhn for giving me that opportunity. I'll shout out to Steve. So I came for the one in Dallas, and just had that, which was great. And my wife just finished up playing in nationals, and so we're enjoying nationals. And so it's about a 3-hour drive down to you here in Austin, and actually Jennifer's mother-in-law is down here, her dad's stepmother. So we're visiting her as well. So it all worked out, and say hi to some friends down here and do this. This is great. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. How did Jennifer do in the tournament?
You know what? She hung in there. She's actually already a national champion, so she's quite the player. And she didn't win it this year, but she's pretty formidable and had a good time with her partner, so it was fun.
Yeah. What'd you think of the venue over at Nationals?
I run a lot of tournaments, so Newport Beach Pickleball Events. I started that with my partners, Charlotte Seda and Patty Weber, at the Tennis Pickleball Club down in Newport Beach, 5 years ago or so. And so we helped build that club, with pickleball courts, and my partner, Ted Angelo, and I built the restaurant there and everything else. So we ran a bunch of tournaments. We actually helped structure the National Championship Series with USA Pickleball to give them the gold tickets. That's why there's always one at Newport. So I'm very aware of how to run tournaments and focus on it. This venue got put together so quickly, and this deal got put together so quickly that I think they're struggling a little bit with the venue and trying to help that set up. But Nationals is still special. It's nice seeing all the pros there. I understand why USA Pickleball did the deal with the PPA, and it was fun having Major League Pickleball there, and it's so many people are coming to this, so it was a big exposure. It was great. Last night they had a deal with Dirk Nowitzki and Jason Kidd and Scotty Scheffler and all these athletes, so that was fun. So you see a bunch of stuff like that. So, it's still Nationals. That's pretty special. It'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I'm wondering, you still go to and attend these events, but you're also like you have business relations with APP because of Pickleball Superstore, which we'll definitely get into, but
Great.
Just interested to hear like more about what your perspective is when you kind of go to different events and you attend them, even though you have business relations with, like, I guess you could consider them like competing competitors.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I love the APP, first of all.
Yeah.
Quality organization, quality people. They put on phenomenal tournaments. We have a great relationship with them with Pickleball Superstore. They actually came in as an equity partner, and we have a program with them where we handle all their shop, basically, with our e-commerce platform and everything else. So they're a special company with a special group of people, and they're going to continue to succeed. They operate extremely, fiscally responsible. There's very smart people that are involved with this organization. So I'm super proud to be part of the APP, or team up with the APP with Pickleball Superstore. Pickleball is such where it's still young. It's still in the infancy. I mean, I've been involved now for 5 years, and I feel like a grandfather in this space because, most people are, a year or two into this thing, right? So there's a lot of moving parts. We're seeing it with the MLP and the PPA. We're seeing it here at Nationals with USA Pickleball. So there's still a lot of moving parts. We'll see where it all shakes out, but I think there's room for most of it, room for all of it. And I'd like to ultimately see more things come together because there's a lot of smart people out there, trying to put things together that make sense.
Yeah. Since you're a part owner in MLP and Duper, what were your thoughts on the tour wars and between them and the PPA?
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, Brian, I don't want to overhype it. I'm a very, very small part of this. I got brought into Duper as a strategic advisor, and when Jill Braverman was the CEO, and kind of worked with her a little bit, and very exciting technology that they have and exciting times. They ended up merging with Major League Pickleball, so that's kind of how my background to it all and my relationship grew with Steve Kuhn, which has been great. It seems to me challenging to have these, and I'm glad that, and I don't know if it's done yet or not. I know that they announced things, but the road to trying to combine PPA and MLP seems to try to figure that out. I think it's going to be challenging, quite frankly. I think there's a lot of demand on the athletes. I think it's a lot of, time. The formats are obviously different with the PPA and the MLP, and that's kind of the story. So I don't know if it could have sustained. I don't know what is sustainable in general. Is it merging it together? Is that more sustainable? Running them independently, is that more sustainable? I don't think running independently was gonna work. And we'll see. Time will tell if merging it's gonna work, right? So it'll be interesting. And I really don't have any insight on it. I love MLP. I actually love the PPA and what they're doing. I get both of them. I'm just a big fan of pickleball. I love seeing the pros benefit, from this. So this is all great. I think the APP needs, more credit to a lot of this. They run great professional tournaments, and the people coming up from that. And this is what's fun about Major League Pickleball. You're seeing a lot of the APP pros shine. Just shine at this level.
Andre, Megan Fudge, there's a ton of them.
There's a ton of them, right? Alex, and they're on and on. And so, it really, they say, oh, the APP is the stepping stone or second tier. It's like, I'm not 100% sure that's the case, because there's some athletes that are, really shining on the APP when you're seeing it, at the MLPs, because that's where they're getting their opportunities.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's more pickleball the better, and it's still very young, and I think it'll wash itself out somehow.
Yeah, I think that's okay for there to be a feeder organization. I think there might always be, but obviously Paris Todd and the Johnson brothers are having like not just success, but they're probably being, not trying to say this like it's just money, but they're probably being given or being offered something more on the table than what the PPA or MLP sees, or just PPA sees as like worth their value, like what their stock is. So they're being paid like what they're worth over. So it's great that there are like competing organizations.
Well, I think it's really great for the athletes that there are. And Paris is a good friend of mine. Funny story about Paris real quick. The first person that Paris ever played with, the very first person in Newport, was my wife.
Okay.
So our head pro, Abby, called Jennifer over to play with Paris, who was coaching tennis at the time at Newport. And because Jennifer plays a very beautiful soft game. And so anyway, the very first time she played, I won't say who won, but anyway, it was cute. And Paris will say the same thing. It was very cute. It was a very fond memory. Again, I think that I get the feeder organization with the APP. I think we're seeing a lot of opportunities from the pros there. And if you have one, and I'll give you an example. If you have one organization, and so take the WNBA. So the WNBA, you can do a guess of what the highest paid athlete is from the WNBA. No, it's like, I think it's $125,000 that the WA pays the high, and they're on, ESPN and TV, and it's basketball. So, because they don't have a competing tour or competing league, to look at it. So by having a competing league, the people who benefit, one are, the fans, and two are the players, because now it becomes, a bit of a bidding war, or more opportunity for them to get exposure and get seen out there, and, more sponsorships and all the things that, they need to make a living at it.
Why can't MLP and PPA just coexist the way they are now? Like, I like that. Like, there's a seasonal, like, there's like regularly scheduled games, and then you have like your championships in a sense, like every quarter in a way.
So we'll see if they can, right? Yeah. So here's my perspective. It's and I'm I see you at all these events, so what a nut job I am on going to these things. I'm just a big fan, and I know most of the players and the whole thing, so it's super fun for me. But it's a lot of pickleball to go and watch an MLP event and then go watch a PPA event. That's like 6-7 days at a venue, watching pickleball. It's just a lot, because they're trying to save money by doing them on the same weekends.
Oh yeah, I would not advise that.
It's a tough one, right?
Like, you wouldn't do like football during a regularly scheduled game during the Super Bowl.
It's a good example. Yeah, right. So that's what's happening now, and I get it. They're trying to make these. They're trying to be fiscally responsible with these leagues, but in doing so, it's going to dilute the product, and it'll be interesting to see how it all again washes out. But at the end of the day, it's they're paying for the players' time. So if you read the contracts of the players, which I have, they're committing to X amount of days a year that they get paid, and so the players are going to do. They have to show up. They have to do certain things and do all these type of things to get their payment, which is fine. I mean, they should. They're in contracts. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to see who's where's that's going to. There's only so many days that they're going to play. There's only so many days that they can play, and it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out again, because there's not complete alignment at the top, the MLP and the PPA, in my opinion. And because of that, there's competing interest levels, to it. So, but again, smarter people than I, and now there's a big money thrown at it. And when there's usually big money thrown at it and smart people, it becomes pretty complicated. So I try to keep things pretty simple in my life, so as much as I can.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard people say that about Tom Dundon. He's just like a very intelligent guy. Not that he's like the only, like he's the main player in all this happening, but not to take any credit away from Steve Kuhn either. But that is one of my questions. Like, Steve on like a personal level, but also in a professional setting as well. What do you think pickleball misses out on without Steve Kuhn? What's going on? Hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. If you've watched any of my content before, you know that this is about to be an ad for my favorite sponsor, Viori. Something that's always stood out to me about Viori has always been the materials and the fabric. So if we look at the website and you go into the materials, they have one of the softest fabrics that they call Dream Knit. So Dream Knit is extra comfortable brushed jersey fabric that's blended with 4-way stretch and moisture wicking performance qualities. So it's made from 89% recycled materials. You can find the Dream Knit in the Ponto line, which I have the Performance Crew, and it's one of my favorite crew necks. And right now I'm wearing the Coronado hoodie. And if you've worn any of the shorts before, specifically the Banks short, which I can only speak to because that's one of the ones I own, that one is made with V-cycled. So V-cycled is crafted partially from recycled materials like plastic bottles. Anyways, if you haven't tried Viori out yet, now is actually a great time because I can get you a 20% discount. If you go to viori.com/buildingpickleball, you will not only receive 20% off your first purchase, but also free shipping on any orders of $75 or more, as well as free returns. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, I think Steve got in it for the right reasons. I think he was very passionate. I'll tell a quick story about Steve. So he invited me over to his home.
Is that the one with the cord in the back at the time?
Yeah, exactly. And so, and we were there actually for game night. And so he has a very eclectic group of friends, and I was there with some of his like super intelligent, academic, friends, and we were playing these board games, and it was really, really fun. We had a great time doing it. Well, one of the games, not all of them certainly, I ended up winning, one of the games, the board game, and I think that was the moment that Steve actually had real respect for me because I actually won a board game off of him. So, he's a very, very smart guy, and he got into pickleball for the right reasons, to grow it, to help the pros, to create a vision, which I think people are really enjoying at the Hub. We just ran an MLP event style, event, and people loved it. My wife played in one, and she really enjoyed that fun team environment from an amateur level, right? And so, that's, to me, changing the game and changing the mindset and everything else. And that's really what he's done. He's working on, more courts and public courts. He owns Pickleball, and he's trying to do more courts, there and everything else. So anyway, great. I've never met Tom Dundon. I have friends that know him. Yeah. He seems like a smart guy. Obviously he is. And he did things very smart as far as I'm concerned, buying pickleball tournaments, then brackets, and merging the two, and buying Central, and and then certainly the PPA, and how he put all that together with pickleball.com. And I just think from a business standpoint, I really appreciate the thinking behind that, and what he's doing and everything else. It's still a long road to hoe. I think probably the only company, and I'm not privy to any of this information, but that's cash flowing is Pickleball Central. That is probably the one that's profitable. I think the others are a long-term approach that will hopefully pay off for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I agree in the sentiment that Tom and his strategic move to buy all those pieces and kind of merge it into one is a great business move. But I can see a lot of people, you can see the frustration in the comments in different forums and social media. Just people get frustrated. They're just oh man, this guy's just super greedy. And Tom Dundon, he's oh, his organization's super greedy. This is what happens when you take a very community driven product or sport and hobby, and then big players come in and just want to throw money at it. But you make a good point that you just said in terms of cash flow, the only one that's really cash flowing is Pickleball Central. And the guy, from what I've heard from different people, is just that Tom is doing his best to try and make sure that the PPA, pickleball.com and pickleball tournaments becomes profitable, which if we want the sport, the community, and everything that we have now to thrive, that's something that we need to have. We need some guy who, like, people were saying that that's like kind of the contrast to Steve Kuhn. It's like Steve, like you said, joined it for all the right reasons. Something that he may have been lacking was that he didn't know how to make it profitable. He didn't know how to generate revenue, something that was so incredibly popular. Like, how do you make money with this? And I honestly don't even understand how MLP even makes money. Like, I get there's like people that buy teams and everything, but I did hear that that's like kind of the contrast with Tom Dundon is he found a way, or he's trying to find a way to make it profitable. And I can see also frustrations with people's tournament experiences and everything. And this is I just feel like it's like a growing pain.
Well, I think that's the right words to use. I think it's growing pain. So I've known Connor Pardo for 4 years or 3 years. I think Newport was the second tournament he ever threw a PPA tournament, was at Newport, and we've done multiple ones, and same deal with the PPA, right? I mean, Connor works really, really hard, and I think he gets a bad rap a lot of times and everything else, but it's hard. What he's doing is hard, and then having a partner like Tom that saw what the vision was with the PPA and said, let me help monetize it. And again, I'm not involved with any of this. This is just my perception. It could be all incorrect, but it's a big gamble that they're taking. It's big dollars, and these are, at least Tom has, got a big wallet to back this and see where it goes. Until they get the sponsorships, and I'm talking endemic sponsors, until the McDonald's and the Coca-Colas of the world and guys like that start to come in, it's a tough road to hoe until the media comes in and people actually start really watching the sport, not just the diehard pickleball fans, but, it gets mainstream. That's when I think where the money starts to come. And I don't know how long that is and everything else. So it's a run, and and again, Major League Pickleball from a fan experience is great. I mean, it's fun to see it. You've been there, the energy's high and everything else. Selling teams isn't sustainable. Yeah. But there's something there that makes it work. And I think the amateur level, again, with minor league pickleball and all that, and the college level, I think is great. I'm a big fan of Duper from a technology platform, and I think that's getting better and better. So, I think that's part of the overall strategy that Steve had, was to create Duper, create a rating system that was universal and dynamic. That would ultimately lead to gambling and tying into the lines, right? To form lines for gambling. So I think there's ultimately that revenue stream is going to be coming. So I think that's that business model on the other side, from the Duper MLP side. And that was the original, or I don't know if it was the original concept, but that would have been an opportunity, or still could be.
I don't know anything about gambling. Like, does it really drive sports that much?
Sure. I mean, the NFL it's all based off of that, right? So sports gambling is gigantic.
Got it.
Yeah. So it drives a lot of revenue. Let me put it that way. And so, you as I don't know if you're an NFL fan or not, but you reap the benefits because it's another revenue stream that's being driven. And again, and also all the media and the sponsors and everything that goes along with that. So pickleball right now doesn't really have that element of it yet. Hopefully it'll come, and then that'll, make these tours and athletes and everything else get paid even more, and these business models sustainable.
Yeah. I'd probably put my life savings on Annalie in like every tournament she plays.
Yeah, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Something else that you did mention was like the MLP format. You're talking about mixed. Something that does make pickleball unique is we have a tournament format that involves both genders. And it's not like necessarily lopsided. Like typically in most sports, people will generally skew towards like, oh, like the men are more exciting. But in pickleball, it's really not the case. Like the female games and matchups are usually more exciting. I don't really enjoy watching mixed, but I do enjoy like gender doubles. on the women's side.
Yeah, I mean, in good points. It's funny. I think to me, I really enjoy watching the women's doubles.
Yeah.
Probably more than the men's because of it's just exciting. The men's can get into a dink fest until it just barely comes up, and then it's a quick hand battle and it's over, right? So where women seems to be a lot more dynamic and at least right now, and they're all amazing athletes and great. I do like mixed. I understand what you mean by that. I like it all. I like the Dream Breaker. So people are asking me, who am I rooting for at the MLP? And I said, I'm rooting for the Dream Breaker.
Yeah.
Because I love the format. I love the idea that it's a team format. It's equal men, equal women. They all have an equal role on this. I can't think of many other sports that are like that. And good for Steve Kuhn to create that format, and good for pickleball community to embrace that format. I think people really do like it. I think it's neat from a team environment to see it.
It shows that like pickleball does have, with the right rule set, it is a leveled playing field. Like it can be. Like the Dream Breakers are a perfect example. You don't always know who's going to win, and they've like gotten to the point where they're putting females up against males, and the females are like taking their money and walking away with it.
Yeah, taking them down. I mean, it's certainly competitive, 100%.
Yeah.
I was watching Megan Fudge, and I forgot who she was playing with, but against in singles, but she won 3 out of the 4 points.
Yeah, they're just like taking their lunch money. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Which that makes it like definitely very, very exciting. Something I definitely want to spend like quite a bit of time on and talking about, because we've already talked about like Pickleball Central is, like cash flow positive, and we talk about use this very common term community, in pickleball. So I want to talk about Pickleball Superstore. Like, I don't think majority of people know what Pickleball Superstore is yet, because it like came off the ground fairly recently, and it just needs more attention. So hopefully I can help facilitate that. But if you want to get into Pickleball Superstore, like, what is it? How does it affect, the average player? For once, not everything's focused on pros, but this is actually focused on, kind of like your everyday rec player, and how you're using a like proprietary technology that your business partner Steve Rack has taken from other industries, and he's brought it into pickleball. And just like, your thoughts on really like the impact that it's going to have.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Pickleball Superstore is a super special company, and Steve Rack is the CEO of the company, and one of the major shareholders and a co-founder with Ted Angelo and myself. And that company is special. The culture of the company, how we look at it, how we give back to the community, and really our business model that surrounds it. And let me explain it a little bit. So we're an e-commerce platform, right? We have 2,200 plus SKUs. We inventory all those SKUs. We have customer service teams. We ship it and do all the things that other e-commerce platforms do. But one of the things that make us unique is Steve was involved with a company called Beauty Counter, where he was the co-founder of it. And Beauty Counter, he developed a technology called Gigfiliate. So Gigfiliate is basically an affiliate program. You get a code, and you can hand that code to someone for a discount, and the person who handed it to someone gets a commission on it, essentially. Well, the majority of affiliate programs are cookie-based, which means that code goes away, and that relationship from the person who gave the code to his buddy to get the discount, although he got the one-time commission, it goes away. They're no longer linked. So Steve identified this, and he created a product called Gigfiliate, technology called Gigfiliate. And it gets embedded into the programming when you share your code. And I brought you a present here, Brian. You are an official Gigfiliate of Pickleball Superstore. I made it custom for you for building pickleball.
It's great, man.
It's your bag tag, and everybody gets a bag tag, by the way, when at Pickleball Superstore.
Nationals.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
So So you can share that code by they can just scan it with their phone and then order up, and they get a 10% discount, and you're going to get a piece of that 10% back. The difference is that you're forever linked to that person. So they move to a wacky state like California, like me, and you maybe lose connection, but they continue to buy from Pickleball Superstore because they can always get a discount now, and you're always going to get a commission on it. Now, if that person becomes a super affiliate as well, not only and it's free for anyone to do it, and then they can get a bag tag and they can share it with their friends and do all that, you get a piece of that, 10% of commission on that. So it goes down 2 levels basically, and then it stops and it goes into a pool. But basically the concept is we take 32% of the sale, and we're lucky if you take $1 and say a product costed retails for $1, we're lucky to buy it for 50 cents, a 50% margin. We're taking 32 cents of that and giving it back to the community as a 10% as a discount, and then the other 22% to have the community outreach to market. It's basically marketing in a sense, to market and paying them to do so. And so at the end of the day, our margins are relatively small, but we would rather give it back to the community because, we feel it's the grassroots effort. We feel that by pushing it out, having people talk about it in the community, that's really where pickleball is all about. We can buy Google ads, we can get a banner at, on the PPA and, things like that. But we would rather take our marketing dollars and give it back to the community. So with that logic and this technology, which is exclusive to us, no one else in the industry has this, because again, the CEO, Steve Rack, and my partner owns it. It allows us, we went the next step with this. So we actually just got through a Reg C of funding. So we're governed by FINRA and the SEC. We allowed people to come in and buy a percentage of shares, same common shares that I have in the company. And for as little as $100, they can come in and be an owner of Pickleball Superstore. In fact, it gets limited to $2,500, and you could buy more, but you'd have to meet some financial standards. But the point being is that we now have owners all around the United States. I think we're up to 45 states that people are part owners of Pickleball Superstore. And we're just about ready to go out with the second round because we sold out of this in like 13, 14 days. I forgot what it was, something crazy. So we're now getting reevaluated and our evaluation's going up. And so the next, we're going to do it again. And basically, so more and more people can own part of the company. So we're allowing the community. So when we say community owned, community focused, we truly mean it. We're allowing the community to own it. We're then using the community to help spread that word because we have unique technology in doing so. It's super exciting. We're super pumped up on it. Whether you buy a paddle, when you tell, a JOOLA paddle, whether you buy it from, JOOLA, Pickleball Superstore, or any other e-commerce platform, it's the same paddle. So what does the company stand for? What is the company going to give back to the community with? What is the company are they going to, help the local community? Are they going to give back to the players that are in the parks and helping promote your company? So that's really what we're all about. And we're excited about it. Our growth rate is phenomenal, and, we're cash flow positive again, making money. And, we're not getting the funding to raise the money. It's not a money issue for us at this point in time. It's a marketing community issue. We really want the community engagement. We really want the community to be part owners of this journey because we believe we'll be more successful in doing so.
I think it's a good move that you guys aren't spending a lot on marketing. I think this is very contextual. I think in pickleball, the people and the community will do the work for you in a sense. I just think pickleball is the greatest example of word of mouth. You look around at your local courts, how are paddles really being sold? Usually affiliates.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's great to see that. It's that word of mouth is man,
Right.
if anyone wants to see a great example of how that works, just look at pickleball.
Oh, it's amazing. And I know a lot of, pickleball paddle manufacturers. Garrett with Carbon's a good friend of mine. Amazing products. We sell a ton of his stuff. At the end of the day, Garrett doesn't necessarily care if Carbon's sold on Pickleball Superstore or if he sells it or if it's sold on another platform. He's getting his brand out there and selling it. It's the same product. It's like buying Tide detergent, whether you buy it at Walmart or Target or Costco, it's the same product. So if you're able to be tied into this, and if you're part of this community and you make, money, in the process, you'll be more willing, and you like the company and what it stands for, you'll be more willing to say, I want to buy this brand here or that brand here and do all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then the advantage for the affiliates is that it's not cookie based. You're linked forever in our programming. And, when they're there, they can buy balls and they can buy gloves and weights and hats and shoes and, blah, blah, blah. Again, currently 2,200 products. We got a lot of SKUs.
Yeah, check out the paddles. You guys have a lot of the big name brands.
Oh, we have all of them.
Some smaller ones that aren't up there, but name like one retailer that is like selling every single brand, right? So yeah, it's great. I mean, you guys hit all the major brands.
Oh, for sure. No, and again, like we said earlier, there's 400 new manufacturers coming to market. It's a lot, and my partner, Ted Angela, which really reached out and, helped with all the vendor relationships and everything else. He would say, we're Pickleball Superstore, hence Superstore. We got to have a huge selection, so people can really see and understand what's out there, So we have a lot. We have a lot of stuff.
Pickleball is so odd because like if you're paying full price for a product at this point, I think you either like live under a rock or you just like don't have friends. Like what I'm trying to say is like it's great that pickleball is one of those. It's just like a sport that people can get into and you don't have to pay full price for things. And with Pickleball Superstore, if you become a super affiliate through the Gig Affiliate program, you're not having to do extra additional work. It's not like, oh man, like if I want to get an additional like 10%, I have to do more work. No, it's just like, hey, I'm getting 10% off products. If you want to get 10% off products as well, here's a link.
Yeah, here you go. Scan my card.
Yeah.
And then if you want to do it, and be an affiliate, make money and share that news, that's great too. So you're exactly right. This industry is still very new.
Yeah.
And so, there'll be some shakeout, obviously. 200 paddle manufacturers isn't sustainable. But it's an exciting time and it's a very competitive industry. And so we want to hit the grassroots efforts. We want this community. We want people to be part of this and own it. We want them to make money on it if they want to, as they tell their friends, they might as well, make commissions on it. So that's really who we are. I mean, that's the bread and butter.
It's crazy that like pickleball, among all like the amazing things that people have gotten from it, I've been able to kind of like create a, somewhat of a career out of being a content creator through pickleball. But like something that I think is like so big is being able to make money. Like, I almost lost a thought, but like affiliate programs. Like that's insane. Like there's really, you can't do that with many other major sports, right?
Right.
Like Amazon is very popular for their affiliate programs, but I don't think they are paying out nearly as much as pickleball is.
Correct.
Yeah. And it's just like incredibly easy. And if the community of pickleball, I don't know what the last numbers or figures were, but if that keeps growing, then there's just more opportunity for people to just, you don't have to make like major amounts of money, but you can just make like enough like, hey, if this month I want to go eat somewhere nice, or maybe I want to like buy my like partner a gift or something, like you can do that with it without really lifting
your tournament fees. Your
tournament fees is a great example.
Yeah, whatever you want. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, the opportunities are unique, and again, because of our technology, which there's not a lot of technology in this space, and so it's nice that we have technology. But because of that, we're able to do that. And then my partner Steve quotes this best. We don't have a scarcity mindset. We're not saying this is mine, I'm going to keep it and don't let anyone in. We're like, no, we're the opposite. Everybody participate in, I'll tell you my numbers. We're completely open and transparent of margins and the whole thing. and this is what we're doing. And, then let other people compete with what we're doing. I think it'll be difficult for others because of this mindset. As soon as we get enough people on it. So again, he started Beauty Counter. In 9 years, they sold it for $1 billion. And it wasn't because their sales were high, which they were.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because the EBITDA was good, which it was. It was because they had 60,000 super affiliates on his gig affiliate program. And so when the next company came in, they said, "Ooh, I like that brand. And I like your 60,000 super affiliates that really are now tied to your company."
Yeah.
And that became super powerful. And that's our goal. And we think pickleball is the ideal, to your point, the ideal market for this technology. And that's where really the whole premise of Pickleball Superstore came from, is because of the technology and who we are, my partners. And I've been very fortunate to team up with really hardworking, smart people. And so it's exciting for us. I mean, this is gonna really resonate, I think, throughout the parks and the local clubs and the players, the people who actually buy it and use them and everything else. So it's fun. We're excited about it.
Yeah, before we even started got the cameras rolling, we talked about that, how pickleball, something that it's lacking is just the leveraging and the use of technology. And it's cool that there are ways that look at pickleballtournaments.com could use. Are you guys gonna help them with that?
Oh, you're killing me.
You're
killing me. My wife won't let me do too many more things.
Yeah. You guys created I don't know how many people really knew Beauty Counter, but this proprietary technology, you haven't really heard of it, right? In other industries, other areas. So it's cool that you're bringing something pickleball specific to this industry. And it's something, it is very new. I think it's definitely, you had used the term before, disruptive.
Right.
Which I come from a tech background. So for me, it's really, really refreshing and rewarding to see. You're oh, this is how anything at this point with the amount that technology is being used in the world now is how does anything keep up with the way the world is working and the way the world is growing? It's there has to be an element of technology that can help facilitate things. And in this way, it's help facilitating people spending less money, but also at the same time making money, which is, that's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, no, it really is. And the other thing that I like so much about it, it's just so simple. I'm not that smart of a guy, Brian, so I like simple things. I try to keep things very, very, the KISS method, right? Keep it simple, stupid. So, this is great. And you can go right on pickleballsuperstore.com, go to, log in, go to your super affiliate, see your homepage. You can see your numbers in real time, who bought what from you, or, you get monthly, revenue coming in real cash, delivered out monthly. Yeah. So it's really transparent, really simple to understand. These bag tags are a game changer, I think, because now you don't have to remember your code. You're just, oh no, here it is, and it's on your bag, right?
Thank you, COVID. QR codes.
Yeah, and it's all free. You don't have to pay for anything. This is all part of our community and part of what we're doing to get the community engaged. And again, for us, we look at it as one, who we are as a company, but two, as a marketing expense. We pay 32% out. I can do that with Google, but I think Google's doing just fine without my money spent, right? So anyway, and we just believe this is where this is where we started, right? The grassroots, the parks, the this, the that. So, and like you said, it's the community and talking to your friends and, well, what pad are you using? Oh, you use that one? Yeah, I just got to, that kind of stuff. So it's fun. I think it's going to do, well, it is doing really well. It's trending amazingly well. So, but the whole strategy of letting others be part of this and own a piece of this and help push this out even further, that's exciting. And then having relationships with APP, that's exciting. And we're announcing soon, I'll announce it here, we're doing a relationship with PPR, so all the certified coaches with PPR.
Sarah Ansbury.
Her
videos are hilarious.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
Sarah's great. Great teacher.
She'll create videos despite the weather. It doesn't matter like what weather conditions
right.
are. If it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds, she's like still going at it in the video.
Right? She's
My buddy
great.
was talking about. It's hilarious. But she's cool.
So all those coaches now, if they want, and I'm not forcing them anything, but they're all part of the program, right? Yeah. So this is, ways to do more and more outreach on this and push this out. And again, it's because of the technology.
Yeah, technology is like a beautiful thing. When it's also like married into a sport like pickleball, where technology isn't, well, I guess paddle technology. Okay, I kind of take that back. There's a lot of technology used in some different ways, but it's cool because pickleball is such a grassroots thing, and right, you're just playing outside. You don't need to like technology to get to play together in a sense, but to see like a technology like this brought in, you're like, oh, okay, like this is great. It's nothing like too over the top with the technology. It's allowing the game to remain what it is while giving people a little bit more. And yeah, the whole like idea behind community driven, community based, and I appreciate Steve's sentiment on the scarcity mindset, right? Like I've talked about it in the past, but it's like it's hard to like be able to give if your hand is always closed and you're always like, you kind of got that fist, right? But if you like have it open, then you can share more, you can experience more, and that's, to me, that's what I've experienced with pickleball, is that's really what it comes down to. It's just like all these good memories and moments that people have with each other. There's just friends like we probably never would have been friends if it wasn't for pickleball. Right. It's crazy because today's the first time I met you in person. Right. And yeah, so it's super cool. And like I've talked to Steve on the phone plenty of times, which is great. But yeah, it's just being able to meet people that you probably never would have otherwise. Yeah.
Right, and that's where we're taking this technology and we're marrying it with the community-based aspect of it. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's already successful. I just think it's going to blow up from here on out.
The cookie-based thing, and I could like talk about this forever, but the cookie-based thing in the technology, from a content creator standpoint, that is like huge. Like you guys are really, in a way, you're probably like unintentionally did not realize that you're helping out like content creators like myself. And I'm going to name Chris Olsen again for like the 10th time, but I figured now's a good time to drop his name, Pickleball Studio, because he's been mentioned on pretty much every single podcast. But just like content creators, like for us, and like our videos will live on the internet forever, right? They live on YouTube forever. But the way you talked about how the cookies issue, that problem, like if our videos are living on the internet forever and we have these codes, and then people, if they go to the website, they buy the product, and we're under the impression that if they buy the product using the code, that we should be getting kickback, right? Right. But if it's all cookies based and that there's a disconnect and that doesn't happen, then we're just directing people to a brand. And not that there's anything like particularly wrong with that, but if we're making the effort to create a brand awareness, then we would like to receive have a mutually beneficial a
long-term sustainable beneficial relationship. The problem with cookie-based, it's not long-term or sustainable. It's a one-time deal. You brought them a customer. They said, here you go, Brian, thank you very much. And then that's it. Your relationship is over, essentially. Yeah. With Pickleball Superstore, that's not the case. That then lives on forever. And so 10 years from now, again, when the person moved to California or New York or wherever, they're still buying product, or maybe you never met them because of your outreach is huge.
Yeah. Question that did come up is, will you, Steve, and Ted ever license Gig Affiliate?
So it's Steve's technology. Pickleball Superstore doesn't own it. We just have the exclusive rights to it. Mm-hmm. So he's already doing that. We just have the exclusive rights to it in the pickleball space.
Okay.
So he's doing it, and I don't feel comfortable that we have a huge brands and names and companies, and it's not my business to share those names, but gigantic names. Like you'd be like going, damn, like why is he hawking pickleball gear? So, it's impressive. This technology is disruptive for sure. But it's just part, from Pickleball Superstore standpoint, it's just part of who we are. Again, now you take the Reg CF funding and we let other people join in, and now we carry all the products, and we have our customer service teams, and we ship the next day, all those things to now back it all up.
Yeah.
Because if you fail, if you don't deliver on time, or if you don't do all these other things, it still doesn't work. It's still business 101.
Yeah.
We just have the technology which gives us our unique advantage, and especially in this space. But the technology is being used out there with other, in other industries for sure.
Okay. I was going to say, like, this is,
Oh, it's
this
amazing.
is, like, great technology. It'd be a
Right.
shame if you only use it in one
No.
industry. Okay.
No.
So you guys, Pickleball Superstore has the exclusive rights to it. Will Steve ever, like, license it out to anyone else in the pickleball space?
No, that's our contract.
Good to know. Okay. Good
Yeah,
to
so
know.
we have a contract, and we own the rights to it in the space, in the pickleball space.
Good to know.
Exclusively.
I bring that up for another reason, which is like another benefit to now knowing that information, is like, if you want to be in the next community fundraising round, that is like huge. If you know that there's not going to be another brand that can leverage the technology like this, like, that's kind of like a hard to say no to if you were interested in the fundraising aspect,
right,
and wanted to be a minority shareholder. Like, if you know that no one else is going to have this, then
it's huge.
It's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
By the way, this channel is not soliciting any financial information. I am not a financial advisor. Pat Rolfus is not a financial advisor.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. And again, we limit.
The minimum is like 10 or 100.
It's $100.
Okay, the minimum is 100,
right,
and then the max is 2,500.
The max is 25, and unless you then go through additional financial, you have to verify your financials and everything else. And this whole thing came from the Jobs Act, like a dozen years ago or whatever. I don't know if you remember Bernie Madoff and all that, and stole a bunch of people's money. But the government basically put this in place so people can't invest their life savings. And we don't want people to come in and say, oh, here's $100,000 or whatever. We don't want that. We want the community to own it. We want Betty from Arkansas, who plays at her park with her friends, to be an owner and have $100 worth of shares. I mean, whatever. And
it's great because, as opposed to like most private equity deals, they usually have they can usually cap some of the investors, but if some investor comes in, he's like, hey, I want to put 10 million in, then like 90% of it goes to that one person or group.
Right.
While like there's not much left in the pie, not many slices left in the pie for other people. But
right,
the way you're doing it is like, cool, we're creating a bunch of slices,
right,
as opposed to just like allowing one or two people to be able to just take the chunk.
Right. And we're fine financially. We're very financially stable, and but that's not the intention of what we're doing. I mean, again, it's truly community based.
Yeah.
Again, think about it. We're in, call it 45 states. I don't know the number, but that's a big outreach.
Yeah.
Of people in their local parks, with these bag tags talking about the company that they own. Now they have technology that they're making money on that, and they're sharing that information. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
And then we're going to expand on that and continue to grow that. So that's where the power comes in. The power comes into the community was because of this gig affiliate technology that really allows us to make this link and this tie back to it. And then that's why we opened up. People can own part of it as well. It just goes back to this non-scarcity mindset and community owned, community focused. That's what Pickleball Superstore is all about.
You've been in the industry for a while, and you have you're very well tied. You have you're good at forming relationships, right? Like, a lot of people, and a lot of people know you. So a question I do have is about this retail space. How do you think affiliate programs affect the retail space? Because I had talked to a founder previously. He was like, affiliate programs are great, but a drawback that's happening kind of behind the scenes is that it takes money away from these retailers, and retailers are somewhat necessary for pickleball to thrive in a way. So just want to get your thoughts.
Well, so let's talk about retailers.
Yeah.
Right. So where is a pickleball retailer? Does it hurt a Dick's Sporting Goods and everything else? The answer is yeah, but I think Dick's Sporting Goods is going to start to hurt already because of Amazon and all the e-commerce platforms that are out there. I mean, look at what's happening to the malls across America, and I mean, heck, Steve Kuhn did Pickleball, right? So I mean, there's a lot of empty spaces out there because of the technology of e-commerce and e-commerce platform, right? I mean, Amazon continues to get bigger and bigger, and there's a reason for it, right? So I think that's one. Now, we at Pickleball Superstore have a program for pro shops. So we understand from the pro shop, and again, partly because, we own, by the way, we own the hub, and I brought you another present.
Oh, hell yeah.
Dual presents for you today, Brian.
I live in Texas, so I could always use it.
Yeah, dual presents for you. So that the hubs are, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but they're very large clubs, the largest, in the country, one of them. And we have pro shops. Well, the majority of clubs are much smaller, right? And so having pro shops there, it's really difficult for them. They can't handle the investment of $50,000. They can't handle the procurement of it and just the point of sale aspect and everything else.
And pricing.
And then all the changes that occur, they can't buy just one or two paddles when they sell it, right? They need to, okay, great, put another order in for, a case of them, right? Another 20 of them. They don't have the funds to do it. They don't have the ability. And then again, like we said, all the paddles that are coming to market, all the different products and the shoes and the glasses and the gloves and the weights, it's just too much, right? So at Pickleball Superstore, we utilize this gig affiliate technology, and we do a program for pro shops for the retailers. So the comment that your buddy made, or the man that you mentioned made, is that he needs to understand the technology and how we can work with it. So what we do is we put a program together for pro shop owners that, one, they can buy wholesale for the products that they sell often, balls and weights and grips and stuff like that. And then the next is they become basically a super affiliate, right? And they demo paddles, they buy demo paddles from us. And so you as a club member has this great experience because now you can demo 100 different paddles, right? And so the inventory cost for the club owner is very, very low, and they don't have to replenish as much. And it's just very simple, and it's all online driven and everything else. And you, the member, gets to use a paddle and tries 4 or 5 different paddles, says, yep, this is the one I like. I want to use this paddle. Now you scan the code and you go to Pickleball Superstore, get your discount, and the pro shop is now connected to that person. And they're now making money and revenue from that sale, but the sales continue off into the future when they continue to come back. So that's our virtual pro shop model, and it really helps the retailer and the pro shops. It really makes a big difference because most of these guys, I mean, as you know, there's a ton of pickleball places, popping up all over the place. In 8 courts here and 6 courts here, 12 courts there, maybe. It's not enough to be able to carry, 500 square feet of product in all the SKUs and, everything else. It's like, it's just not enough. It's just too, and the capital investment is super high. So we solved that problem for the pro shops, which is basically, in my mind, the retailers of pickleball, right? You would never, because you're a pickleball player, obviously, would you ever consider going to Dick's Sporting Goods and buying a paddle? No.
Like, I would buy a paddle blind online. Like, if reviewers were like, hey, this paddle's great, I would rather buy it through there.
But the people who are shopping at Dick's are the brand new people.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm buying the kit for $50 and it comes with a couple, it's just, so that's not where the real pickleball shoppers and players, that's not where they're buying. They buy their first set off Amazon or Dick's or whatever. And then they fall in love with the sport. And then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to a specialty, places like Pickleball Superstore. And now I'm going to figure out what I want. And they figure that out from seeing their friends, on the courts or at their club demoing different paddles. They'll say, yes, I really like this carbon paddle, not the pitch carbon, everybody, but I do love carbon. I really love
paddles.
Yeah, but you get it, right?
Yeah.
So that's where we fit in, and that's where this technology makes us different, and that's how we help all these pro shops with our wholesale program, and then this tie back to this gig affiliate technology.
Got it. Do you guys, when you're talking about all this, something I just couldn't help but think about. So like when you're trying out paddles, like I wish more people got this opportunity, or like I guess maybe not enough people know about this, but Pickleball Central, something I always thought like they did great was their return policy. Like I used to have friends who would buy 6 paddles in 1 month and then they try them all out, then they return them at the end.
Right.
Does Pickleball Central or Pickleball Superstore have something similar to that?
We don't, and Central's policies, not really sustainable. It's going to be difficult for them, because same deal, right? I mean, I know a lot of people who go and they buy 6 paddles, they use them, they test them, they bang them around, and then they ship them all back saying, okay, I bought this one, or I found another one cheaper over here. And now they just got all these used paddles back. So we try to be very fiscally responsible, try to do things that make sense. We do have, some products, used products on our website, but all in all, we don't do that. We, at our store, you can come in and demo a paddle for free and take it and use it and do that kind of stuff. So that's great. And again, we're doing more and more of these virtual pro shops that will push this out to our partners out there if you want to demo products. But really, Brian, it's because of our gig affiliate program and our technology that we get to the users at the park. Now, Susie, who's an owner of Pickleball Superstore potentially, or at least a gig affiliate, hey, try this paddle, use it, and then here's my discount code. So they're more willing to even help sell different brands of paddles out there in the community because now they benefit from it. So now we think of it this way. We have people sharing this stuff everywhere because we're sharing our revenue basically because of this technology and our platforms.
It's no secret that you like part owner and like co-founder of like Hub, Pickleball Superstore, like these are all, it's not like a coincidence that you came up with like the facilities and then you have the pro shops, then you have this like affiliate program. We talked about this before the cameras rolled on, but I was like, in the tech space, a very common practice became offering people a suite of products, right? Like Apple, you have your computer, you have your phone, you have headphones, everything kind of comes together so you don't have to mix and match, you don't have to shop elsewhere. But like, where's all this like business savviness come from? Not wanting to lose money. I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. I'm the youngest of 5. My father was a brilliant man, invented the equalizer and 3 different classes of amplifiers in the stereo world, just a brilliant man. Anyway, so, we're all basically entrepreneurs and we went down our own paths essentially. But so a lot of this is just, from that upbringing. I started my first company, I think, when I was 11, and all sorts of different things. But that just comes from that. But bad decisions are made along the way as you go too. So you remember the .com boom. I mean, you may be too young for that, but so on the tail end of that, everybody is making money. And a friend of mine comes up with a company called craftproducts.com, right? And so, my brother and I, he threw in, I think, $100,000. I threw in $50,000 into this company. And we joke about it today that I have a $50,000 windbreaker, right? Because it was the tail end of the .com boom. So I tell everybody, like, look, pickleball's phenomenal and great and everyone's passionate about it, but general business rules still apply. Yeah.
So you got to do things that make sense fiscally. So I started, Cafeo when I was 23, right out of school. I invented a bottled water coffee maker where you put like a 5-gallon bottle, you invert it and press button, get bottled water coffee. And 35 years later, right before COVID, I started selling the company off. So that's been my main company for 35 years. And now I've, sold it. I was going down a semi-retirement path and found pickleball basically. So So for me, I'm a systems guy. I understand business. I understand passion. I understand all these things to put it together. I've been very fortunate in my, pickleball community and space to meet people like Ted Angelo, people like Steve Rack, Patty Weber, Charlotte Seda, Steve Kuhn, Robert Quicksilver, Justin Maloof with USA Pickleball. I mean, just really, really great people that have, helped shape this. And so, I joke about it, but I'm dead serious. Pickleball has been like an entrepreneur's playground, right? And you really, again, if you keep general business rules and you have a good plan and you execute it, it's still growing like crazy, and there's a lot of things. I'm concerned a lot of people out there aren't doing general business. They're just rushing to market with things. They're making these decisions that don't really make sense. I see all these facility franchises, popping up and everything else, they're not even popping up yet. They're just being sold, and it's like I just don't know if there's that many good operators out there, and are these plans good? Because I haven't seen things that make sense yet from an operational standpoint. So we own the hub, right? And they're big clubs, and I believe in big clubs. So we're the largest club in San Diego, and we just do it in California. And the thing about California is that the barrier of entry is really, really high, right? And so if you can do it, it becomes pretty sustainable, because, the idea that competition is going to be right behind you is probably not going to be the case. Wow. But we have on the largest club in San Diego County. We own the largest indoor facility in the country right now, and I'm sure that'll change next week, the way pickleball is going, but that's in Silicon Valley, and it's a beautiful facility. And then we just bought the largest fitness and pickleball club and just converted a fitness center that's in an old naval hangar on Alameda Island, right on the bay. It's absolutely gorgeous. And we have 1,500 fitness members, 8 indoor pickleball court, and 7 outdoor pickleball courts. It creates this indoor-outdoor effect. Very, very cool. So, but all these clubs make sense, and we have our revenue buckets and our. I'm a big systems guy, so we have our systems and procedures, and making sure that we do everything fiscally responsible and correct, and give the members the experience that they're looking for. Because we're clubs, we're not just, here's a court to play on. We address sound, we address, community, we address, lounge areas, food, beverage, all sorts of different things, right? And we're not, what do they call them? Entertainments, which are a great model, different model. It's a restaurant model.
Yeah.
We are big pickleball clubs for tournaments, for huge, we take a philosophy like, we need, if you were to join a club, and I know this is going to sound funny, but having 20 courts or 26 courts or, whatever is a good thing, because one is you can have, 700-800 members, be supported. And so anytime you go there and you drop in, you don't need to arrange a game at your skill set. There's so many people at your skill set that you're playing with, because really you want to play with people at your own level, right? And that's the beauty of big clubs, that, we have a critical mass of people, and then we allow all these different areas for people at their skill set to go play. Now you're seeing different shots. It's not the same 3 guys you always play with. Yeah. You're dropping in whenever you want. It makes the environment and the atmosphere, really nice. Now it's hard. Capital investment's much higher when you're scaling up to this level and everything else. Risks are bigger, and so you got to make some really good decisions. So, we look at these things very, seriously in how we do it, but so far extremely successful. And again, I'm going to give a big shout out to my partner, Ted Angelo, who's a great operational guy and works super, super hard. I'm super lucky when it comes to get my partners with all this.
It's awesome, man. It's awesome to see that Carl Schmitz from USA Pickleball, he's the managing director of facilities and equipment. I had done an episode with him in the past, but when you talked about the way you guys do facilities, and you guys only have 3. And I don't say only in a negative way. I say that, like Carl said, the model is crawl, walk, run. And he's like, he kind of said the same thing that you're saying, is that there's a lot of people rushing into it. And it's great to see, but you're also like, it's great to see if it's done with caution and it's like done like with it, like the knowledgeable like intent and experience. Like the way you talk about systems, pretty much like every big founder I've spoken to has talked about, they've just mentioned systems. It just came up like, you know, that's just something that's inherent in successful founders. But yeah, it's great to see that you have like the one in San Diego is one of the largest, was that largest outdoor?
Largest outdoor in San Diego County. We have
Yeah.
26 courts.
26.
In a grandstand stadium that's shaded. It's covered.
You guys had that one event, right?
Yeah, with MLP teams, the Hard Eights are down there. And we're talking to a couple of MLP teams to make a couple of our locations their home courts, which will be fun. So we can
Super cool.
Yeah, you know, create rivalries and the whole thing. So, which is, you know, those are the experience that we're talking about. But if you had a club of, you know, 12 courts, you just can't do it. Down in San Diego, for example, you know, in our facilities in general, the same with Northern California and Alameda, we're building, you know, a bar cafe that overlooks, you know, a center court with bleachers and the whole deal. And down in San Diego, we have a full grandstand that's covered with the 60 by 60 foot sail, 34 feet high. It's very, very cool. The whole place is very cool. I'm very proud of it. But so, you know, it'd be fun to have MLP teams that make their home courts, and then we can have rivalries of Northern Cal and Southern Cal in this particular case, and you know, help MLP team owners, which, you know, they need to make money too, right? Help them build their brands as a team owner, help their athletes, help their ownership to generate more revenue for them by creating one-off events for them or you know, with them, I should say. And so you know, the facility side of it, and you know, Carl Schmitz is a friend of mine and super smart guy, another smart guy out there. There's a lot of them. It's hard to build these facilities that like we do. And, you know, San Diego, we built it, you know, it's on 4 acres of land and basically built the thing ground up. It took us 1.5 years to build it. So they don't just pop up is the thing. But so, yeah, we're, I think, the largest club owner on the West Coast, certainly well, I don't know about the West Coast, certainly in California. So, but it's all done, you know, correctly in my mind. They're all profitable. They're all making sense, and the members, you know, like it. Our attrition's, you know, very small, you know. So to me, those are the right signs of a business, right? You put a good plan together, you pivot where you need to. But having big clubs, it's hard to do. But we think that, you know, the way we do them, we've been successful with them, which has been nice.
That's awesome. I like that idea that like you're creating a home base for pros, or at least like the teams, because man, this is like another great thing about pickleball is how many times are you going to see like Steph Curry come up to your like local court, right? And and how many times can you play with them? I don't know if you're going to necessarily be able to play with these pros maybe on like a very off day, but even just being able to share like the same facility and you see them practicing on another court.
It's very cool.
It is cool. Like there's a place here, Awesome Pickle Ranch, and you see like Ben and Colin practicing on like the far court. But something I also did want to talk about that ties into Awesome Pickle Ranch is there's no exaggeration when you say that courts are difficult to create. Not even just like if you get it built up, like the management, I'm sure that's even more difficult, right? Like being able to create a recurring revenue stream, but being able to create it, because Awesome Pickle Ranch, which is now on a garage rooftop, that wasn't the original plan. The original plan was to actually have this like, I think it was like 16 or like 18 courts, like 12 of them were going to be like covered. They're going to have like 6 volleyball courts, food trucks. I saw the marketing plan and like the slide deck, right? They sent it out and it just fell through. They said there's like issues with permitting and just development issues and just like rising costs, because around the time it was happening, it was during COVID, and this was post when everything fell. So things were coming back up. So yeah, it's difficult. And it's interesting when you hear about like the brands that are franchising, which is crazy that they're selling franchises without them being built or operated yet.
Crazy. Again, general business rules apply. If you can't go to a venue and touch and feel it.
Damn.
I mean, I can put together a performer on a spreadsheet too.
Yeah.
I've done thousands of them, and I can guarantee you that I haven't made a projection be right yet. It's just one of those things, right?
It's a dangerous game to play.
You want real numbers.
Yeah. You're playing with a lot of people's money and investors too. And if they get this like bad taste in their mouth, if anything falls through, you might be getting ahead of yourself.
Right.
And if it goes bad or sour, then it just doesn't look good for the sport in general.
No, it's tough. I mean, we've been fortunate to have that, the first 2 locations, majority of them, they're all self-funded. So we didn't go out and borrow people's money and play that game. So, but it makes you even, more focused on the bottom line and, you have more skin in the game and all those type of things. So, but it's a fun space. When COVID hit and we built out Newport, and, again, I helped. I don't want to take all credit for these things, but, we really changed, and we are now today, and I'll tell you another story, but we really changed thousands of lives. People were they come up to me and they thank me all the time. I was at our club in Silicon Valley, and this woman and her husband were practicing on one of the back courts, and she stopped me and she said, I would just want to thank you for doing this. Usually my husband and I would sit at home, we'd have a glass of wine or two, and we'd watch a movie, and it was night after night after night. Now we come here, 4 or 5 nights a week, and we exercise, we've lost weight, we're healthy, we're doing all these fun things together. She's just like, thank you. I mean, you've changed our lives by putting this facility, right here in our community. And again, back to my whole mantra of community is, you build these clubs into the community as well. So you want that level of support from everybody. So yeah, I know it's fun. It's great.
It's gotta be super rewarding. Like obviously like financial means are like great because, you have a family yourself, but man, when you hear like people talking about like, man, you changed my life in a certain way, like it doesn't really get better than that.
It's killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice. It's fun to see, especially at my age. I mean, you're a young man. I'm an old man. So
I'm Asian. I could be like 75.
Well, good point. Good point. I'm 85, but I look good for 85, don't I?
No way.
Yeah, that's what I'm sticking to that. So, no, how old are you? 85. But I look good for that. No, so
changing the narrative.
Yeah, it's good.
It's awesome, man. Like, man, pickleball is just so crazy. Like, I think that's like huge, right? Like when people get older, we start to get set in our ways, and we start to think that this is going to be our life this is going to be the rest of our life now. Once you reach like a certain point, I guess you hit a bunch of milestones, right? You hit like I got kids, or you graduate from college, or you hit retirement. And to be able to give people something to look forward to, and I mean, man, you probably know like how difficult, actually you have a lot of friends, so you probably don't know, but it's difficult making friends as an adult, right? And once COVID happened, people started becoming kind of more like sheltered in a way. That's probably not the best word, but it became
more reclusive.
Yeah, it became easier to stay at home, right?
Yeah.
And now like pickleball, this thing came along where you can not only be outside, but you can, like you said, you can lose weight, you can meet a bunch of people,
right?
There's not like a high cost, and some of the best things in life really are like somewhat free, right?
Well, from my perspective, Brian, is that I'm actually a 58-year-old man. I'll tell my real age. But, I'm not going to go to a bar. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to, I have, friends from whom I have 3 children, and when they were playing youth sports especially, and I did a lot of coaching and I did all that, and business associates and things like that. But other than that, it's hard for a 58-year-old man to, really go meet friends. And I don't necessarily want to talk about business, and I don't want to talk about a bunch of different things. So now I have all these people I go play pickleball with. I hang out. It's fun. No one even necessarily knows what I do.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's just fantastic. So I think it totally changes life. I mean, I could be competitive again at my age. I mean, I hadn't competed in anything for 25 years until I found pickleball, right? And so for me, like you're saying, all these milestones, you have children, and I'm so focused on my business, and and now my kids are all grown up and they're out of college, and it's, my wife and I get our life back together, and we find this thing, and we're traveling around, going to MLPs and nationals and playing pickleball and opening up these clubs and meeting tons and tons of people. It's fun. It's great.
Most people would have stopped. Like, once your kids are out of the house, you're like, cool, now we get to just chill.
That was the plan,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was my plan. My wife will tell you, God bless her, she's like, you know what, I knew it. You just can't. I'm like, no, that was our plan. And she goes, what happened to that retirement plan? Well, anyway, so it's an entrepreneur's playground. It's getting harder and harder now as more and more coming in, and the passion, and because everybody has the passion for the sport, right? So now it's becoming harder and harder. I'm just afraid that people are coming in with passion and they're not really thinking about business. General business rules apply, and they're not thinking about that. So I went and looked at, for example, a Bed Bath & Beyond went bankrupt. I went and looked at a building in Southern California, and maybe you can get 12 courts in it. And the realtor wanted $100,000 rent a month. I'm like, you're joking, right? And I'm like, well, I can't do that. And, no, I said, I'm not even going to give you a counter or whatever. I'm not even going to give you anything because I don't even want to insult you. I mean, it's not going to work. And actually the environment wasn't what we wanted anyway. It was too small. But, the guy called me back and he said, oh, by the way, I leased the building to a guy who's going to put in pickleball courts. I'm like, good luck.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's silly, the stuff that's happening. And there's no way that's going to work. Financially, it just doesn't pencil. Now, maybe just a rich guy that wants to have his own private club and he can dump $100,000 a month. But anyway, it's, again, general business rules got to apply with all this. And
what's your perspective when you saw that space? Like, is there something special about these spaces? Like, why are people taking them up?
So, again, we look at things differently than other people do with clubs. And not to say that they're right with how we do it by any means. But, like, again, entertainments, I'm not getting into that space, but I think that they're great. And I think I met the people from Chicken and Pickle, and my wife just played there yesterday, actually. So I think there's a room for everything. A lot of these, mall-based locations and Bed Bath & Beyond, they don't necessarily create a club environment. What they create are courts indoors that's more of a drop-in feel. And can you make a business model work out of that? Yeah, probably. If you do that right. And I haven't wrapped my head around it too much. But it's not, in my mind, what we want, and it's not, in my mind, as sustainable as building a club-based community type of thing. But again, everybody has different, ways of looking at it and everything else. But most of the, anyway, so we just look at things a little bit differently.
What's been the biggest challenge with the facilities?
Well, finding them,
Are you guys pretty much always looking at large scale operations?
Yeah. Alameda and San Francisco Bay is unique where it has, fitness, and we built 15 courts, and that would be the smallest that we'd go. And quite frankly, I'd love to have 15 more courts. I wish it was 30. We just don't have the space there. But I don't think we'd ever go smaller than that. And it's because it has fitness, and it's because it's a unique location that we made the decision to do it. And it's an amazing facility. I can't wait to have you come up and check it out. It's very, very cool.
I'm gonna make a trip to California.
Do a little road trip. You can go up and down the coast. But but again, we'd like to see larger facilities, but larger facilities are hard. But we feel that if you can do it and do it right, it makes a lot of sense. The investments are greater, so everything's greater, right? But we're looking at it from a long-term business model. This isn't something that we're trying to just turn around in 6 months and say, okay, good, now sell it. That's not who we are. This is a sustainable cash flow business that we're looking to build.
I think that's the first time I guess like Lifetime in a way does it, but I don't think they had like 15 courts. It's usually like 2 or 3. They usually like dump it on top of the basketball court, but I guess they were doing it too. But man, that Alameda location looks awesome. Like because it's multiple floors, it's not pickleball in a separate room. Like
Right.
I've been seeing that. I see it. There's a local gym here. It's called The Collective, and they just have the pickleball court in a separate room.
Right.
But just being able to see the Alameda location where it's 2 floors, the pickleball courts are here, the workout center's on top
Correct.
and below. People can like look over, they can watch it, and also being able to tie in like, okay, these people are already at the gym, so this probably is gonna like resonate with some of the audience who's like you said, like some people who can compete again.
Right.
There might be some people who like are retired from sports, or they, you know, like they plateaued in college or high school, and then they see pickleball, they're like, oh, like this could be my another chance, another opportunity to like get into something fun.
Right.
Also, like gyms are typically like put your headphones in, you work out, that's it, right?
That's exactly
but then
right.
Pickleball's like, hey, there's can be more to the gyms now.
Right.
They can be more social, and not that there's anything wrong with like plugging your headphones in. That's usually me. But
Right.
man, when you see like an opportunity to like socialize too, it's like, whoa, this is kind of changing the landscape.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's very cool. And actually, I'll kind of flip the script on you a little bit, because here's what we're seeing. So we're seeing that pickleball, that people get really passionate about it, right? They fall in love with it. And you know, but then all of a sudden injuries start to occur, and they you know, they strain their hamstrings, or, you know, plantar fasciitis, or whatever it is, right? And so we're now seeing that a lot of the pickleball members are stoked about the gym and the, you know, the steam room and the sauna and all the other recovery that we have in there, so they can, you know, work out and get stronger and more flexible and everything else for pickleball. It's interesting. It's different than it's not, oh, I'm the fitness guy and now I'm going to go, you know, try this new sport, pickleball. It's all the pickleball people saying, I need fitness so I can continue to sustain my pickleball habit, because it truly is a habit for these people. So it's really interesting. So my wife is an amazing athlete, and she's in amazing shape, and she will tell you, not me, but she works out more for them playing pickleball, and she'd play pickleball every day, but she works out more just so she can continue to play pickleball and not get injured and not hurt herself, and continue to play at a high level, all that kind of good stuff. So it's a very cool mix, and Lifetime, you know, dipped their toe in it, and they're an amazing, you know, company and everything else. This is a unique scenario that we had. We didn't have tennis courts to work from. We built all this out, you know. Basically, we had indoor soccer that we removed, and we built indoor pickleball, and then we added outdoor pickleball all from scratch, essentially. So it's very cool. It's a very unique club, and we're very, very proud of it. And you won't see anything else like it, that's for sure.
And it's on like a real surface. I don't know if it's just like typically just concrete. Is it just concrete that are on most like courts?
Yeah, so we do things with Acrotech, which is the supplier of the PPA, the paint supplier. It's actually another funny story, but Brad Carroll, and I, you know, he used to be in the water coffee business, and I, again, owned Café, a coffee brewer manufacturer, and sold coffee, and I used to sell to Brad. Probably over 25 years ago, we sold a long time, and then we got reconnected into the space after the fact, and he now owns Acrotech, and I own the hubs and Pickleball Superstore. So it's a funny story. So anyway, shout out to Acrotech, because he makes great products. So we, you know, don't use pickle roll, and not that it's not a good product. We don't use any of that. We pre-surface all the materials on concrete and multi-layer with Acrotech. Invest heavily into the courts to do it right. We pride ourselves on professional courts. You know, this is where the basis of this stuff comes from. And if you ever, you know, play on one of our courts, I mean, you'll see. I mean, it's as good as it gets. Yeah. You know, and again, we team up with Acrotech to be able to pull that off, and they do a great job with their products.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm probably coming from like probably like an ignorant viewpoint or perspective, but like my sentiment towards the pickle roll and these like sport court surfaces, I dislike them strongly. I won't use the H word.
Right.
I dislike it strongly. I'm like, you're going to put all this work, all this money, all these resources. You're also going to get people excited about it, and you get people onto the court, and then they play on this like surface. Not to dog on pickle roll or any of them.
I get it.
Like I also get it, because they're still helping grow the sport and getting people playing. But man, I'm like, I'm with you on the
Right.
sentiment of like, hey, if we're gonna do it,
Do it
let's
right.
Let's get people to get them to feel what pickleball is actually like.
Right.
In the past like couple months, I've played on all these different surfaces that just weren't like your general like typical pickleball court,
Right.
and I loathed it. I just like didn't like it at all. It's like, this
Right.
is not great.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, I know it costs more to do it the way we do it. I get it. And I also don't like freestanding nets. Even the professional ones, we core them into the ground and do it properly and the whole thing. We try to do all of our courts, individual netting as much as possible and safe and bigger and, larger size. And, so, I mean, all those things are important. And I think back to all these people rushing to market these facilities, is that they're just taking the, Field of Dreams, build it and they will come attitude. But I don't believe in that. I think you got to do it correctly, because ultimately people are going to say, I only want to play on good courts. I'm not going to do that. In Newport, we did a lot of tournaments. We built a huge facility and did a lot of tournaments. They're all, permanent courts and everything else. We took over the tournament space, for a long time, because people were sick of tape lines and temporary nets and all that kind of stuff. So the more people play pickleball, the more you're like, I want a court with proper dimensions on the side so I can do an ATP or an Ernie. I don't want to go backwards and hit a fence. I don't want this. I don't want that. I want the surface to be correct. I want the colors to be correct. I want, all these things. And so the customer's getting more and more sophisticated, the players in general. So, and then they're, from a club perspective, again, then they're willing to pay a little bit more than, I get it. You can go to, your local park and play for free. I understand that. I have no problem. I still go and play to that. But those courts aren't professional grade courts and the whole thing, right? After a while, you're like, really like it over here, and that's where all the players now go. And, so you get it, right? It's part of build it right.
Yeah.
And know what you're doing. And that's my concern of this big rush to market, with people just listening to others that don't necessarily have a good enough track record to be able to do it correctly. There's still a huge learning curve for a bunch of people out there.
To that topic, as we're like nearing the end of this, what advice would you have for business owners that are trying to get, or people who aren't business owners yet, but want to create businesses in pickleball?
Again, general business rules apply, right? What problem are you solving? How does your profit margin works? What's your distribution look like? How are you going to market it? If it's a facility, what's the demographics in that facility? What's your cost base? What technology are you using? Your programming? All these things, right? So it's a lot, and it's super hard. I understand. So most entrepreneurs that I know and business people I know, and again, I'm going to reference my partners, Ted Angelo, Steve Rack, Patty Weber, Charlotte Say. These people work so hard. I mean, all the time. I mean, I
can't believe Steve still works as much as he does, like at his age. Like he's just,
he's younger than me. Yeah.
Oh, is he?
Oh,
he's just never off the clock.
Yeah, I'm just better looking. So no, he's Charlotte Seda, works super. They just all work really hard, and they're smart.
Yeah.
And we're all aligned. That's the other thing that I would really caution people on if you're going to partner with someone. My other companies, I didn't really partner with anyone. I did them. They were my companies, and that was fine. This has been really interesting and fun. I don't know if I could have done this when I was 30 years old, to partner with people and as a collaborative, as I am now. The older I get, the more I look for, collaborative relationships and other people's skill sets, and realizing my limitations, and, but nothing, replaces hard work. Nothing replaces smart people. Nothing replaces, knowledge. It's hard to, 35 years of business experience before I got into it. I've been in business now for over 40 years. I told you I'm an old man. It's hard to replace that knowledge, even though it wasn't necessarily in this space.
Yeah.
And even though I'm not necessarily the smartest guy in the world, but it's a knowledge and the learning lessons of dealing with people, dealing with vendors, dealing with, employees, systems, procedures, all the things that go along with that. And then, and working with people in general. So, again, I was just lucky, as I move forward to meet, all these incredible people in USA Pickleball and PPA and MLP and my partners. And we came together in a collaborative effort to build multiple things special. And again, I'm really lucky to be in that position.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to cover before we wrap things up?
I appreciate it, Brian. Thank you.
No, thank you, man.
Yeah.
You made it easy. You came to me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, getting the word out of what you're doing with building pickleball and Pickleball Superstore, especially in the communities that we do, and push that out to the rest of the community is exciting.
Yeah.
We want more people like you involved with it. I mean, again, back to opening it up to everyone. So, basically that's it. I just, this has been a fun experience for me. And so thanks for having me.
Yeah. I'm glad that we got to, the first time we're going to air it will be in person as opposed to the remote. But yeah, I'm super happy to be a part of the team and supporting Pickleball Superstore. I've always been very supportive and very interested in technology and how it can help change how humans operate in this space of this world. And if we can make things easier, if we can make things, like give more resources to people, I think it's a beautiful thing that we can do for people. And yeah, man, I appreciate this too.
Yeah, sweet.
People will underestimate how hot it gets in Texas.
There you go.
So yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, thank you. And super excited for everything that you're working on. Yeah, this is really cool. And I'm sure I'll see you at Nationals.
Yep.
You're gonna go back, right?
I'll go back.
Sweet.
I'm gonna go back.
Fill up that gas tank before you go.
Yeah, exactly. That's a secret. We're not getting into that.
Cool, man. Well, I appreciate your time and thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Talk to you soon.